Welcome to the new Overlords Podcast, where we talk about video games and why they are the way they are. I'm Max, and with me, as always, is someone who knows for sure that it is a nice day for fishing, my co-host Sema. Hello there, Sema.
You're right. It is always a nice day for fishing. And I have already
Good morning. Nice day for fishing, ain't it?
Sorry.
Yes.
Balin stepped on you there. Nice day for fishing, ain't it?
I have done the fishing, the new fishing derby that's in the War Within.
Oh, the
version.
Hollow Halls fishing derby?
Yeah.
Good.
Hollow. Yeah.
Because I have a note on that. We're going to talk about fishing today. We're going to talk about fishing in general. We will talk about the Hollow Halls fishing because I want to hear about it. And I've done the old fishing derbies, and I think it's interesting. We'll get to it, but I think WoW does a really good job with fishing all around. Now that I did my little analysis going into this based on No Man's Sky, but we'll talk about that more, and we'll talk about Balin and fishing. He reminded me. So that's Viva La Dirt League. When they did the whole it's like an hour and 15-minute episode of Balin's journey, that little vignette.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't notice it, but there's a scene in the beginning where Balin's walking through the town. There's sort of like the intro, and he keeps doing his nice day for fishing, talking to all the townspeople. He walks past a blacksmith, and it's the same guy. I forgot his name, the Viva La Dirt League guy, but the guy who plays Balin. He was also playing the blacksmith as he walks through the town. So the camera pans to the blacksmith, and he goes, "Yes, it is a nice day for fishing, Balin, you handsome man." I didn't catch that joke the first time through until I was looking at it again today. I was like, "Oh, that's why he said that, because it's him." All right, so they are very funny, and they like fishing as well. But we like the news.
Good news, everyone!
So first up in the news, some really cool stuff is going on this week still in Contemplation Games. I was bringing up the post here. We started to introduce a couple of our contributors, a couple of people on the project. So we already did one for Tyler last week, our 3D modeler. And the second person to join the team, I put a post out introducing her. Her name is Julia, and she does amazing work. And I put 2 examples of her work out on all the social feeds, building on what we showed for Tyler sculpting a part of this tree, sort of sculpting the roots and the branches. This was Julia's concept art that she mocked up and sketched out and then sent to Tyler. And then Tyler modeled the pieces, and then they worked together to sort of like finish it and paint it and texture it. And
I love it.
I'm so happy with this. I'm so happy that we're getting to that we've got amazing talent on the team, and we're getting to a style that we're going to be able to go forward with. That's going to be our own, unique, and that's a hard thing to do. I didn't know if we would be able to do it, but this goes very far in that direction, which I'm pretty cool, pretty happy with. I think it's pretty cool. In other industry news, outside of the indie scene, Sony has unveiled the PS5 Pro. Have you seen this, Sema? Have you seen what they've done?
I saw the price tag of what they've done.
Right. Somebody posted that that list of what else you can get for $700, including getting like a 4080 card for your PC. So it's quite expensive, $700 for the PS5 Pro. But a couple points on the price that people were making. One was a weird out of left field Mike Ibarra chiming in on the conversation somewhere. I don't know where it came from, but I saw him quoted saying, "It's not that much if you consider that that it's mostly directed at PS5 fans, which probably have a PS5 and are probably going to want an upgrade and will resell their current PS5, which you can get legitimately." And if people have said, yes, this is legitimate, you can get about $350 for a current PS5 on the resale market.
Okay. On the resale market.
Yeah.
But not like when you turn in your phone and they give you $5 against your $900 phone.
Yeah. No, on the actual trade-in market, like if you took it to a GameStop, I think you can go to a GameStop today and get $350 for it. Like,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
like
Okay.
the phones are the worst. The phones are fine if you have the most recent model, like the best model of the current generation. Like the 16 just got announced. You can get a pretty good trade in on a 15 right now today. But a 14 and lower, yeah, you get like $5. It sucks. And I never upgrade immediately. So
No, I never take advantage of that.
I thought
I
it
like
was,
my phone, except for now, like the battery lasts for like 4 hours.
yeah, that's the biggest flaw is the battery tech and the batteries going bad. I've gotten on family phones across all of us. I have taken the iPhones to the Apple store and gotten a battery refresh, and that's been great. It's not, it's like 50 or $100 or whatever they make you pay, but it extends the life. It like doubles the life of the phone practically, I feel like.
I wonder if I can do that for I have a Pixel phone battery refresh.
Pixel, I bet you could. I bet you could. Yeah, I mean, there's no Google store to go into to make it easy. So on this PS5, I bet it's exciting to people that do want a more performant platform and not have to do the trade-off. Do you want performance or do you want frame rates or do you want, graphic fidelity? So that's going to be exciting for those people. But it did make me think about the Xbox, and what the Xbox did instead is they did the Series S. And what they did in the direction there is they put out a cheaper version. And that has done really well for them. It has made the penetration and availability of that console out to much greater number of people than it would have. So they like put out a higher performance version as their flagship model and put out the Series S as the cheaper version alongside it. The problem with that, and I don't know if everybody realizes this, but there's a problem with that. You'd probably hear about it if you pay close attention to game news and game releases on the consoles. It makes it hard for developers that are porting their game or even just straight up developing their game for Xbox, period. Because if you want to get certified for Xbox, if you want your game certified for Xbox,
You
it
have to have
has
all
to
the
be
Xbox.
playable on the Series S.
Yeah.
You can't say, well, ours is a really high-end game, and only, we're targeting the latest hardware. It doesn't, it won't do 30 frames per second on the Series S. So, so too bad. You can't say too bad. You won't get certified. And that's making games slower to come to Xbox and get certified. It's making more work for those developers. It almost feels like it's holding that ecosystem back a little bit from what could be running on the mainline Xbox series. So a little bit rough. Optimization is something I fear when we get to that point in making our game run. So maybe we're going to require for our little cozy game, it's going to require a
Yeah.
PC
Right.
with a 4080 card minimum, and it only runs 30 frames per second.
I only have just so you know, I only have a 4070.
Okay. Well, too bad. No, we'll do what we can. Star Wars Outlaws is getting a first major patch. And there are discussions within the developer and from the studio saying there are things we're trying to smooth out. One of the criticisms, if you listen to like the reviewers that are saying, yeah, it's a beautiful AAA game, very, very amazing, but we're going to give it a 4 because I don't like stealth missions that you can fail. Or I don't like that I can't just, have dual wield blaster rifles and just shoot every stormtrooper that I see. Well, that would be a different game. But they have said we would like to make it less punishing to have those like fail situations in some of the stealth missions. It's weird because I don't like stealth missions in games, and I didn't feel like, as I said, I only played through a third of the story, but it was a couple of the early missions that people were complaining about the most. I didn't think it was very punishing at all. It was a stealth puzzle, and it wasn't a very hard stealth puzzle. It wasn't like every move that you made, you had to like wait for one guard to turn to the left and another guard to turn to the right, and you had to dart ahead, and you only had 1 second to time in between, it was not that hard. So I don't know what these gamers.
For me, now, and I haven't played this game, but for me, what's frustrating, and I feel like it's similar, is like when I'm doing something that I think I understand, and then I get like one shot or instant give for some reason that I don't understand. I look back in the log if there is one, and I see what happened, and I'm like, well, now I have to do the whole thing over again.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I do have that moment
Yes.
of like, do I really want to play this rock game?
I
So
have.
I get that, but also I also accept there's a learning curve
Right.
sometimes. And that can be part of the fun. It depends on how much pressure you put on yourself or what you think is fun, I guess, too.
I mean, I thought about this. Small G gamers will not mind at all spending literally hours on an
Yeah.
Elden Ring boss. But if they wasted 3 minutes because they failed a stealth mission in Star Wars
Well,
Outlaws, then that's
I mean,
bad.
might be different people, but yeah.
Yeah, it didn't seem like it's different people. It's all the same. It's all the same game reviewers that say Elden Ring is game of the year, and then their review for Star Wars Outlaws was, "Oh, I failed. It made me fail the stealth because you only go back like 3 minutes because it doesn't like kill you until you don't have to start the game over." So, yeah, it's different. It's different things, and I think it's also a situation where this is not their favorite kind of game, a lot of the reviewers, whereas they like the action RPG game. They want the action game, they want the fighting game, they want to fight the big boss, and they're willing to put in the hours to fight the big boss because that's the game they like to play. Like they would never play Ark the way I play Ark because I'll spend an hour over the weekend killing bugs because it gets enough of the resource that I need. Nobody's going to
I
put up
have
with
a
that.
feeling I know what the resource is too.
Well,
It's bug poop, isn't it?
no, it's not. It's not bug poop. I have a bug that actually collects the poop for me in Ark. We'll talk about that if we need to.
Your bug butler collects the poop for
It's
you.
a dung. It's a dung beetle, and if you tame the dung beetle, it does all the poop collection for you. You never have to pick up poop again. But
I do want to say, like, if you're reviewing a game, it is, to me, it's perfectly fair to say, I don't like this and
Mhm.
I don't like that. It's different, way different from this is bad
yes,
or whoever designed this should lose their job.
yes, and if they're rating it as a critic, they present themselves, all of these game reviewers, and especially the ones that like work for the major gaming outlets like IGN, they present themselves as a game critic. And a game critic, like a movie critic, needs to take themselves out of the content to some degree. Like Roger Ebert didn't say, I love sci-fi movies, so if you show me a rom-com, I'm going to immediately, give it one less star because it's not the movie I like to watch. He would critically review the media.
Mm-hmm.
And they seem to be having different standards, what I failed this one time and wasn't able to plow through it because I don't really want to play this kind of game and I needed to get through it over the weekend so I could write my review. So I'm giving it a 5 out of 10 because that feels bad. Whereas I love Elden Ring. I love to be able to, fail at fighting a boss 40 times in a row. And I'm going to give it an extra star because of how punishing it is. Because they like that. I don't know.
I feel like
That's just a theory.
It's
My theory.
It's totally shifted from like this idea that a critic can be someone who's impartial and you can listen to what they say to like the responsibility is on you as a reader. And I think that's happening all through like journalism because of it's been so like decentralized now and anyone can do it.
Yeah. True. I miss the days of professional critics that were often held to a higher standard themselves. They were journalists. They studied the media. They were, they went to film school. Siskel and Ebert. They knew what they were talking about.
Right.
Some of those still exist, but they're few and far between. And the popular ones,
And they are not the ones who make the money for their bosses. So
right? They're not the ones that get the clicks. I feel like if there was a Siskel and Ebert still doing major reviews today, there probably are out there. They're probably not getting the clicks. They could put up a YouTube channel and nobody's going to pay attention to them because they're not, doing the hate headlines, the sensational clickbait.
Right.
Speaking of clickbait and something that's getting pretty good reviews, I wouldn't say this is actually clickbait. It's for fans of Warhammer, and Warhammer Space Marine 2 is getting a pretty good review for what it is. And I think it's these reviewers who love to play this kind of game. It got an 8, where all you do is just like run around and shoot stuff for the most part. It's very pretty. And if you hear them talk about the reviews, there's stuff that's actually not very well balanced, and it's very difficult to play, and it seems like a bunch of stuff is made for a co-op to play. You can barely get through the mission if you try to play it solo, even though they talked about the game as solo. However, if you do like Warhammer, this is a beautiful rendering of a Warhammer game. It's all of the action that you would expect, the kind of weapons that you would want to use, the kind of scenes and fidelity of the art that went into it was well done. It's very well done, and I recommend checking it out if you like Warhammer at all. I'm liking watching it. I'm not going to play it myself because, again, it's a game where you run through and shoot a bunch of stuff, and you got to like complete the mission.
It's super dark.
Yes, like gory dark and bloody, and
it's a dark existence.
Yeah,
a dark, which is not my thing.
Right. Yeah.
Like, even if you win, it's only for today. Tomorrow is going to be worse.
Yes, it's like the most post of all apocalypses.
Yeah,
is the Warhammer universe, and yeah, and the gore. You're playing the game to get to line up your execution. So the execution is a special ability. So it's almost like fatalities in what's the final game?
Street Fighter?
It's the other one besides Street Fighter. The Mortal Kombat. It's like the Mortal Kombat, yeah. The fatalities were just so like gruesome and gross, but that was the point. Oh. You have that in this game, and that's like a big fun part of it. You're trying to get the fatalities on everything that you're fighting.
Yes, Forrester. I do love the look of Warhammer, though, as does everyone. I mean, it's fantastic.
Yeah, they just did a great job in the art. Yeah, just everything is just very polished. Another game, which is a slightly different art style, which I'm interested to see where it goes. I'm very interested to see where it goes. I love it because it's a throwback. It's Carmen San Diego. They're making a new Carmen San Diego game. This is a headline, and I'm gonna keep my eye on it. It seems like it's very retro. You play as Carmen San Diego though in this. I wouldn't say very retro. It's retro, but it's a modern game, cartoony style. I wonder how much it's actually educational, which is it's a weird thing to say, but the original Carmen San Diego games were educational games. This seems like it's set around the world in cool geographical settings, but I don't think nobody makes educational games anymore, I feel like.
Well, or if you do, you definitely can't call it that.
Right. Maybe that's it. Yeah. So maybe
this does look kind of adorable.
Yeah. I saw like a couple of, just as we're just watching the trailer here in the video. I did not actually watch the trailer before, but a couple scenes that flashed by were real geography around the world. They were actual cities. I think it was Singapore. It's one of my favorite cities that I've only seen in videos. It was the big towers of the big plant towers, reaching the giant tower gardens that they have. But yeah, so cool. We'll see. We'll see where that one goes. It just caught my eye. Something else that caught my eye. In fact, Tatsemi sent us this, that looks really cool. A video game adjacent. Valheim, the board game. And you looked at this too. What did you think, Sema?
Oh, I love the look of it. Well, yeah, I wish right now in my life I don't have any board gaming friends, like where you go to you go to each other's houses and you drink and play board games.
Right.
That, this one looks like a great one to me.
I actually have a
And I
board
know it's a
gaming
great
table, but I've
I
used
know
it
it's a
like
great
once.
game. And I know there's online board games, but yeah,
Where their little
this looks
trailer is
great.
not very long, is it? It's 15 seconds. This is, I think it's kind of like a Kickstarter. So it's not made yet, I don't believe. Is it? I don't think it's released yet. I think this is a Kickstarter. Yeah, this is sort of a Kickstarter campaign. It's on a site called GameFound. So look up Mood Publishing Valheim the board game on GameFound. It's looking really cool though. The game board itself, it almost kind of looks. It gives me a little Settlers of Catan. I said it wrong. Apparently, I say it wrong. I say Settlers of Catan, but apparently that's wrong, and I don't know how to say it now. Catan.
I say Catan, but I have no idea if that's right.
Settlers of Catan. I said it once, a couple months ago,
Right.
and my daughter said her college friends at the time were listening to the show and laughed because I said it wrong. I don't know. Catan. Maybe that's it. Chat room, how do you say it? Catan? 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 I don't know. Anyway, it's got those hexagon. It's got hexagon tiles on the game board. Does that freak you out? I know you're hexaphobic, Sema.
They don't freak me out. It's just not my favorite geometric shape.
I don't know.
Not that hard to understand.
I do really kind of like hexagons myself, which is why it's why it fascinates me that you don't. But that's something I know. And then our last story, which we've put off for a couple weeks now, but I did think it would be interesting just to talk about for just a second. GameStop. So GameStop came up. Mikey Barra, when he was talking about doing a resale on your PS5 and getting $350 for it, he said GameStop specifically. So GameStop, I guess, is still a thing and does that kind of thing. I didn't even realize that was still that much of a thing that GameStop did. The trade in used consoles. This article came up a couple weeks ago that said GameStop has now launched a new line of stores. I don't know if they're rebranding existing stores or this is new stores that they're opening, but they're retro stores, retro GameStop stores. And in theory, they're going to be focused on retro games, both the retro systems and the retro game sales themselves. I had multiple thoughts on this. What are your thoughts on this, Sema?
I wonder if in their existing stores, retro was already a substantive amount of what they were doing because if you actually wanted to buy a PlayStation 3 or PlayStation 3 games, for instance, maybe GameStop is where you go. And maybe this is just them sort of leaning into that. I don't know. Because I never played console games to begin with, so retro versions of them, it's outside of my, that little radar that makes you attracted to something.
Yeah.
It's outside of that for me.
Okay, here's another article. GameStop is in a weird place, I feel, in the pantheon of retail and stores right now, because it was a meme stock. So this is something that happened last year. There's people sort of goofing around on Reddit decided that they were going to get them and all the people in the subreddit to literally invest in GameStop. There was a short going on by some of the big brokerages, and these people were going to prop up the stock price and stick it to the man, and they did. So it became a big deal because a bunch of people heard about this. It came out in the news, and everybody was like buying GameStop, and a bunch of the big brokerages, the investment houses, the hedge funds lost money on their short positions to the tunes of like hundreds of millions of dollars potentially. It's not, none of that is public necessarily. But GameStop stock then went up a bunch. It impacted Robinhood. GameStop stock went up a bunch and has been propped up by this meme position to the point where they issued new stock and infused funding into themselves. And I think that was wrong from a valuation perspective. They're a failing business.
I think it shines a light on what is wrong. Yes.
They're now they're flush with some cash, and I think they're throwing a bunch of money at the wall to see if something will stick, because there's no reason that a GameStop should exist as a store selling video games. If there's a little bit of trade left in actually trading consoles and hardware itself, then maybe there's a place for that. This retro idea, maybe, but nobody buys. People buy physical games. Okay, I know the 0.1% of people will write in a strongly worded letter that they will write on their printer paper with the 2 lines on it, and they'll tear off the holes on the edges and send a letter in. But nobody buys games that way anymore. Everybody buys the games on the digital stores, even on consoles. It's all digital, and Steam and all of that, and is becoming more and more, but like it or not, and I do like it, games as a service. So how can GameStop stay open? So here's an article from today. So this is from today, from Retail Dive, which is a major retail industry publication. GameStop is eyeing more store closures as sales fall another 31% this year to date. So that's why I shook my head at this. I almost think if I was the investors, if I was the institutional investors or the owners of the company, and we had that big cash infusion, I would have paid off debts, closed the business, and given that cash to the stockholders and said, we're done. Because they're just going to burn that money away. It's just they're going to fritter it away on weird things like this that I think just have no place in the industry going forward. It's a weird place.
Maybe that's what they're chasing, Forrester. They want to have the success of CEX. He was mentioning in the chat that there's a series of stores in the UK that are everywhere that does that.
Interesting. I would be surprised if CEX continues to, unless they're making money some other way.
I mean, but it's something that retail brick and mortar stores are struggling with everywhere.
Yeah.
They're trying to find a market, and even online stores are talking about having brick and mortar stores. So it's sort of like,
yeah,
it is an ebb and flow and a centralization versus decentralization thing that happens all the time in business. And I think
GameStop and in retail.
I think GameStop could just be trying to find that spot where they jump into the jump rope and it starts to spin in a way that works for them.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they're just in a tough spot, because I think the place that I think if 15 years ago they had started to transition to digital sales, they could be a player in the market today. But you've got a company like Epic that can't even keep their store going barely against Steam, which is weird. I'm actually surprised that Epic isn't doing better with their store against Steam, because I don't think there has to be just a single distributor for digital products. And if anyone would have the player base because of Fortnite that to keep themselves sustained, Unreal and Fortnite, Epic, I think, would potentially be able to be that. And they're having trouble. So GameStop can't do that. They can't make themselves a digital storefront anymore these days. So I don't know what else they're going to do. Games that are out one game released today, which is definitely worth mentioning. I really like IGN's website these days, but it's Satisfactory. We're going to talk. I always bury the lead. I start talking and then I get distracted before I even say what I just started talking about. Satisfactory came out. A lot of people love this game, have been waiting for the 1.0 release. The 1.0 release came out today. And boy, I'm feeling the pull to actually to get into it. We'll see. I might over the weekend. But then my side note, shout out to IGN for a well-designed website. Their website is really looking good these days. I pick websites, like the game news is the same. I've got 6 game news websites at a minimum that I'm pulling game news from, a bunch of them. And I really used to like Game Rant for the layout and design of their website, but Game Rant more and more is pushing, they want you to log in. In fact, they've got a calendar of game releases that they won't let you see unless you log into their site. Free, you're not paying. But I'm not going to create an account on Game Rant, a news website, so I can see their post. Sorry. IGN's layout is really nice, though, these days. So somebody's doing a good job with user interface design. I like it. Well done. I like the dark websites, too, and Game Rant and IGN do a good job with the dark websites as opposed to Verge or something that's still very bright and burning my vampire eyes. All right. As always, thanks to all of you out there for following and listening. If you need any of the subscribe links for audio or video, they're all on newoverlords.com. Special thanks to everyone that hangs out with us live here on Twitch or in our Discord, where we talk about tons of fun stuff all day, every day. That's at newoverlords.com/Discord. And also, don't forget, if you're looking for one of those big family-friendly gaming communities, Sema and I hang out in one of those. It's called Alea Jagd Est. We always love to give that guild a shout-out. Check out aie-guild.org for the AIE Discord, and you can come play games with us there, too. All right, Sema.
Good morning. Nice day for fishing, ain't it?
It is a nice day for fishing. And it's no place better for fishing right now than, well, I wouldn't say there's no place better, but No Man's Sky. I played a bunch of No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky had a big update, and it made me think as I was playing the update, it's just a fishing update. It's and they kind of said this. In fact, Sean Murray posted on his feed a drawing of that a player made that relatively recently, I think it was only like 2 months ago. So I don't know if they had some of this stuff in the bag or they just put this stuff together really quick, but it was a drawing of someone sitting on their ship fishing off of it, because one of the updates that they made recently to the game was they updated all of the water text. So the water looks a whole bunch better now. And they made it so ships can land on water. They have these water jets. So your ship is parked hovering on the surface of the water. It looks really cool. So somebody made a cool drawing, fan art of them sitting on the the deck of on the outside the hull of their little fighter ship with a fishing line cast in the cool new water. And Sean said this was kind of an inspiration for us to put this stuff in. Yeah. So I don't know.
Why are there two people fishing there? Is one like a companion or?
No, you can play with your friends. There's no bonus to fishing.
Yeah.
Every once in a while we try to, and I would more, but it's not actually it's not that hard, but it's
not better.
It's not easy to play with your friends. It's not like you just everybody's in the game, and if you happen to be in the game and everybody's in Stormwind, you're just in Stormwind with other people and you see them. Or you're on the fleet and in Star Wars: The Old Republic and like an MMO. This, because the universe is so vast, you'll never run into people unless you try.
Right.
From the launcher, though, you can say, hey, Corley's on my friends list. Start a game with Corley. But Corley and I would have to coordinate in Discord first, and we would have a reason to play together, right. And there's not all that much reason to play together either. So even in the few times when we've meant to do that, we've done it a couple times because a couple expeditions had an objective to visit a friend's freighter or something. So we did it then, but otherwise, not so much. Whereas other games, and we'll get to that comparison, when they add in like a bonus to fishing, if there's other people around, even if it's strangers, that's a little bit of a plus, I think. And I think that's a good thing to add into a fishing system. But let me go through the rest of No Man's Sky, the fishing, and the expedition real quick, and then we can talk about fishing in other games because I noted some, and I do try fishing in every game, and I have liked fishing in a lot of games, but it's weird because it's not the point of the game. It's like a mini game going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So here they did a few things, and you'll see some of these kind of features show up in a lot of games and have been done elsewhere. They added a vehicle. There's a series of these kind of vehicles. It's weird. They didn't add it into the list of regular vehicles, which they call Exocraft, which there's already 5 in the game. This one is like a special ability that you slot into your suit itself, and you pop the raft onto the water. And it's just a raft. It just hovers there. It doesn't do anything. It's got storage, which is permanent. In like anytime you open the raft, any other time you can get to the storage. It only stores fish. But it's a cool little graphical thing, and you can stand on it over the water, make it easier to fish somewhere. When the seas get really rough, it bounces all over the place, and I think they actually patched it in their update. You would get washed off of the raft, and that wasn't supposed to happen. So they added a raft. They added the fishing rods, which is actually an attachment which turns your multi-tool. When you hit the G key, you're switching between the modes of your multi-tool. You're either doing like terrain manipulation, or you're gathering minerals, or you're shooting. Your multi-tool does all of those things. There's only like one thing you're carrying. Well, now they added a thing which turns it into a fishing pole. So your fishing pole, there's not like different kinds of fishing poles. It's just the one. There, I guess there is one skin for it that I get is a reward for the expedition. But it's not like there's better grades of it. It's just the fishing pole. But there is bait. So that's another thing that a bunch of fishing systems have is bait. So you can slot the bait in. And then there's all the fish that you can get. And there's grades of fish from common to uncommon to rare to legendary. And they sell for different amounts. And there's you can get the regular currency for them. Or if you throw them back, you get the alternate currency for No Man's Sky, which is called nanites, which is even a little bit more rare. So you can sort of like use this to get 2 kinds of the currency that you would want. And then they added one other thing, which was just in terms of features, up to only 3 per planet, which I thought was a nice way to sort of constrain it. So people weren't putting up like 100 of these and blowing out all of the, over making it overpowered. But they're fish traps. They're automated fish traps. So you can like put them out at a bay. You got to like have a little base, and they can put them out in the water, and they will automatically catch fish for you. So automated fishing. And there's some other
kind of Arc-like.
the like fish traps and automated fishing, and there's a couple games that do that. I'm trying to think of what other game I was doing a bunch of automated fishing.
I mean,
in.
apologies if you hit on this before, but like, can you sell the fish or something you make from the fish back to those vendors? I mean, is it a way of making
In No Man's Sky?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you straight up sell the fish to any vendor, you get units, which is like credits, which is the dollar currency. If you throw the fish back, you are immediately credited the secondary currency, which is called nanites. So there's
Okay. That's what you meant by nanites. Okay.
yeah, so there's 2 kinds of currency. There's units, which you can get, there's a 4 billion cap on units, and I've hit the cap on my main account. Nanites are more rare of a currency. They're harder to get, and they're used for certain kinds of like upgrading your ship a tier or upgrading your multi-tool a tier up. So they're kind of like more valuable, more important. And this is kind of a nice little way to get some extra ones. And then the other thing that they added new cooking recipes. So you can cook the fish and eat them, but you don't do a lot of eating in No Man's Sky. If you cook the fish, it makes it more valuable to sell back. There's a catalog of all the fish you've caught. So you could be going after, like, trying to catch them all. So it's just sort of like an achievement page in your settings menu that shows all the fish you've caught. And then there's the expedition. So the expedition is one of those challenges. You start a new game. There's 5 tiers of the expedition. There's 10 objectives per tier, so 50 in all. And they're just sort of like steps along a journey. I've talked about the expeditions before and why I like them so much. Since you're starting fresh, the expeditions always accelerate your progress. It's like the first step is find your ship, and it's 200 meters away from wherever you spawn. Find your ship. Okay, you get to your ship, they give you a bunch of stuff. It's not the way the normal game works. It's to accelerate you. And everything you need to get done of all of the 50 objectives, you get along the way in the expedition. But you also got to fish up a bunch of fish. I have let's see, I think I have 5 more fish I need to catch. 2 hot water fish and 3 fish caught only during a storm. So, and there's different lures that help you catch those kinds of fish, and you got to go to a different planet that's really hot if I want to catch the hot water fish and that kind of thing. But you get a bunch of little fun rewards off of the, this flight pack is one of the rewards? Nice. So you get a bunch of cosmetics mostly for expeditions. You get this bobblehead that sits inside your ship. It just sits there and bobbles. There's various ones you can get as like cosmetic attachment to your interior of your cockpit. And then I like this jetpack. That's pretty cool.
I know, it has like a Jules Verne kind of a look.
Yeah. And the armor set, the armor skin that they give you is same thing as sort of like the diver, the old school diver suits, Jules Verne diver look. Yeah, so fun. But that's it. That's it. Nothing all too big. No big stuff going on. No huge feature updates. This was not Worlds Part 2. It's just fishing. They added in fishing. It's not going to be something that people do a ton of. Oh, here's the drawing. Yeah. Something people really loved was the new water update. And so this is the picture that somebody drew.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, really cool. But it did make me think about fishing, and, which you can probably describe better than I can, Sema, I think World of Warcraft has one of the oldest fishing systems not oldest, I guess it's been in lots of games even before then, but
maybe, but I mean, World of Warcraft is also one of the oldest video games.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm thinking probably like, was there fishing in Ultima Online? I don't think so. Did EverQuest have fishing? Anyway, World of Warcraft does fishing really, really well. When I was putting it all together in my mind and sort of like ranking fishing systems, because of everything they wrap around fishing, I really like fishing. So what about you? Do you like fishing in any game?
I like fishing in World of Warcraft. And to the extent where, like, we're in early days of the X pack that we're playing right now, the War Within, and so there's things that have higher priority. But I wish I had time to fish.
Right.
And the reason is more than just it being downtime. It's also valuable.
Yes.
The fish are valuable. It's also a way to do things. You always talk about the dopamine hit, but the fish are valuable. Not all of them, right? So like you fish up stuff, and then when you get the the one that you're looking for, it's like and then it's like over and over again, right?
Yeah.
Also, there's achievements, like you said, wrapped stuff around it. There has always been fishing gear, but now profession gear in general is like part of the interface. So you can stick your favorite fishing rod in the interface. You can have fishing armor of some sort. And then I think not every X Pack, but several X Packs have had a fishing contest on the weekend. And the War Within is no exception. So I did that on the first Saturday. And it was really cool and really fun because it was a way of exploring the world. I didn't even know what all the fish were yet. And this version of it is not competitive. It doesn't have a winner. So basically you have an hour to do certain things. Like you have to collect the the special fish in various different zones, and they don't tell you anything about where they are. So it was just more of an exploration thing. And then you earned currency, and then you could buy various weird little recipes that you can't get anywhere else except from that vendor who only shows up on when the fishing contest is live.
Is there a winner of that contest? Like that old school? And does that old school fishing contest still exist? Remember the old
Yeah,
original
the one
fishing
the one in
tournament?
Stranglethorn Vale. Yes, that one does have a winner. I guess it still exists. It's
Because
I
I
always thought it did. It certainly does in what I've been playing in Classic. But there's also one in Legion, which I never played. But I think that one also has a winner.
okay. I did win the original fishing tournament because it was a requirement to get the salty title, which was a
Yes.
like a
Yes.
meta achievement title,
Yeah.
which I
And who
enjoyed
doesn't
doing
want
back in the day.
who doesn't want a title of salty?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
But there's a subtle change to fishing now, which I told you about in Discord, but I don't think you read it.
Did I
Which
not?
is
I was elected to
which is
lead, not to read.
um the way fishing works in WoW basically is you throw the bobber out there, and then when the fish that you don't see, it's under the water, it tugs on it, the bobber kind of bobbles up and down, and then you right click on the bobber and it comes in and you either have your fish or you don't. So it's a very simple process. But now since there's a new way basically of targeting in WoW, and I think there has been since this might be a Dragonflight thing. I'm not sure. Might be earlier. But basically if you're pointed at your bobber, you don't have to click
Oh,
on it.
yeah, you did mention this, like an interact key.
Yeah, and instead you can have a key on your keyboard bound to interact, which I've had that forever. And so you could just sit there and tap that. So last week you were talking about AFK fishing. You could be even more AFK because if you just put your character in the right direction, when you hear the sound, you could tap your key.
Interesting.
But and then yeah. Um and that actually has like that affects a lot of things in the game that you may want to target. Like for instance, if you want to target the mailbox, but someone's got their giant thing in the way, you can
They're what?
their giant mount in the way.
Oh, okay.
I should be more careful about using words with actual meaning. Um, you can use your interact key.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
I like so many games to rely on that. Like keyboard games, WASD
Yes. Yeah.
games rely on
Yeah.
interact key.
Right. Right.
That
Like you could probably set it to F or E and then be like every other game, right?
yeah, interesting.
Um,
But yeah,
and
because
then
of, as you said, because of like the gear, because of the events, because of the rewards and the titles and everything kind of wrapped around it, and it's a full-on profession. It's a full
right.
profession with value
And
associated with it in game,
right.
just regular MMO value.
And it
It's
has
good.
devoted followers, people for whom fishing is a big deal, a big part of the game for them. And I think that body of players has people in it from every sub body of player. Like there's like hardcore raiders that are into it, and they're like super casual players that are into it. It's like the whole gamut of players.
One
And then I
interesting
mean,
one interesting
go ahead.
twist. Have you seen it or used any lately? Is add-ons. You know how we can have add-ons and WoW, and not all games, not many games have add-ons, but I did used to use fishing add-ons pretty
Yeah,
regularly.
right. Right. I did too, Fishing Buddy, which gave you all kinds of useful stats, like how many of this particular fish you've caught in this spot where you're standing. So you get feedback that you're standing in the right spot for the fish you want. And also a beloved feature was that you could throw your bobber out by just double clicking on the water.
Hmm. As long
Um,
as your fishing pole is equipped.
right. And the way WoW works now, you don't even have to have it physically equipped. It's just
Oh,
always
that's right,
available.
because it's one of those new profession things.
Yeah. Which is cool because when you're fishing and you get attacked, you don't have to fight without your weapon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Right. Which was always a problem. You're on the edge of Stranglethorn. You're out there fishing, and then whatever raptor comes up behind you and bites you, and then suddenly you're like whacking on him with a fishing pole, wondering why you're dying.
right, right,
Yeah, it was pretty
right.
common.
With a fishing pole with a very slow swing time too.
Yeah. No damage.
But yeah, so it is definitely grown and multiplied over the years. But
Now,
yeah, I want to get more into fishing, but I got some other things I got to get out of the way first.
yeah, don't we all?
Yeah.
I played fishing in tons of games. I've played fishing. I liked fishing in New World. So fishing in New World was quite good. One of the differences in New World, which you don't have to do in World of Warcraft, is the mini game associated with either casting or reeling in. And there's both in New World, and it's good and bad. So I want to sort of throw this into the mix, and we'll hit on a couple other examples, and then come to our conclusions at the end of what like the perfect fishing system would be. But when you cast out in New World, there's like a little line that goes up and down, like bounces to the top and bottom, and the closer to the top it is, the further out it casts, and it barely affects your cast, but that's okay. The second thing is when you're reeling it in, a lot of games, and New World is one of those, give you a mini game when you're reeling it in. And in New World, the mini game is the tension on the line. So you start reeling, and the tension, you'll see the little tension icon in the middle of the screen. It's a circle, and it's getting tenser, more and more tense. And if it gets too tense, it'll snap. So you have to like back off. You have to like stop clicking, till it reels out a little bit, then wind it in a little bit more, and then let it go out and wind it in more to bring in the cast and not lose the fish. There's pros and cons to that. So let's think about that, because I think the mini game, needing a mini game to make it interesting and having a mini game that you have to go through are kind of like two ends of that spectrum.
Right. I agree.
I didn't mind the mini game very much in New World, but I didn't. One of the things with fishing is it's the kind of thing that you do, if you're into it, you do 1,000 times. And if there's any mini game, no matter how good it is, you're going to hate it
Right.
after you do it a couple hundred times. This is like lock picking in so many games. There's a debate on, is the lock picking good in Star Wars Outlaws? It's a rhythm game, and I like it, but if I have to do it 1,000 times, you're gonna hate it no matter what it is. So I don't know. I kind of had a conclusion on that we'll come back to. Because Palia, there's another one. I've fished a bunch in Palia, because Palia has the whole you want to catch them all. And there's like little quests for catching a certain number of fish, and you're trying to get the rep of the townspeople up, and some of them want a particular fish as a gift. So fishing is a relatively significant part of that game. Bait, rods, bait, and that's another one that has a mini game when you cast. So after you cast, when you're reeling it in. This one I found more annoying. So you cast it out, and there's like little pools, and there's different fish from different places. And I think that's a good system. And WoW has that, where you're fishing different kinds of fish from different areas. And New World has that. There's saltwater fishing versus freshwater fishing, and different baits versus different places. But here's the mini game in Palia, which is the bobber will, like, as you're reeling it in, will be moving laterally. Will be moving back and forth, and you have to move the cursor to keep it on the bobber. The problem is, for like the more rare and valuable fish, the more they'll like jank around back and forth, and the harder it is to keep that little cursor on them, that
Right.
it becomes annoying. In fact, you can pretty easily lose the catch. And again, when you're trying to like catch a rare fish and you finally get one hooked, and you have to do this like 1,000 times, you can really get tired of that game. A couple games that I like have fishing off of boats. Like, you get a boat. Saturn in the chat room said Sea of Thieves has really good fishing. Well, Sea of Thieves is all about your boat, your ship. Fishing off of ships always felt good to me. Guild Wars 2 added fishing, like a raft, a fishing boat that you would fish off of. There's that little raft vehicle. I think that's a good addition to a fishing system. If you have boats in a game, I think it's natural that you probably have fishing. And Final Fantasy does an interesting version of that where they have big boats where lots of people can go out, and it's almost like a raid. You get like in a raid group and everybody's going out on these big boats, and it's like sort of like a raid event. So group fishing. Is there group fishing in WoW?
There was in Legion. I'd forgotten about that, but yeah, you'd go fishing with a raid because there was a thing you were after that would spawn, like if you fished up a certain thing and threw it back in, it would spawn a mob, and then you kill the mob and get the thing you were after, or chance at it anyway. So people would fish in a raid, so there'd always be somebody throwing a fish back in. So the mob will be spawning a lot.
New World has where for certain types of fish pools, the more people that are there fishing, the higher chance to catch better fish. It's a little bonus. I would be in New World running around, exploring the world, and see a bunch of people standing next to a lake and go, oh, there must be a cool, and everybody would then like join in, and it only lasts 3 minutes while the pool before the pool gets fished out, but it was like a fun little social thing, which I think is another good addition to.
Oh, yeah,
to
it's the
fishing.
opposite in WoW. If someone comes up and starts fishing in your pool, it's sort of like off-putting. Like if somebody
Yeah, because
breezed
wouldn't it
you
make
into
it
something.
disappear faster?
Yeah, they're like taking your fish, man.
Which is a bad. I think that's a bad design for an MMO. I
Yeah,
think you
yeah.
want to encourage people
Well, I
to
mean,
to group up and be friends and make
yeah,
friends.
maybe it doesn't work that way anymore, and I'm just not in the know. But yeah, I agree.
ESO always had pretty good fishing. Pretty good. It wasn't all that interesting. ESO did have the desire to be catching certain kinds of fish in certain areas and like catch them all kind of thing. The one thing that ESO did do well though, which I think is another dimension of a good fishing game, is making fishing rewarding. I did a lot of fishing in ESO. It wasn't very annoying. I did use add-ons, which made it even less annoying and more passive. No mini game. It was like it would make a sound, so I could be like watching Netflix. It would make a sound when the bobber hit or whatever, and you could press a key on the keyboard and be done. So then you look back, cast again, go back to watching Netflix. But the fish, as you got a big pile of fish, you would cut them all up, and like 1 out of 100 fish would get you a resource called Perfect Row, and that was one of the most valuable resources in the game. You could sell it for lots of in-game currency. You could make lots. You could fund your adventure off of Perfect Row if you were good at fishing. So making it rewarding, making it count, making the either the recipes that you're making be really useful and valuable, just, making it count in an MMO. So it's not just a mini game for no reason, I think is a dimension that you've got to go after as well. And then the last one I threw in, again, because I played a bunch over the weekend and I play it fairly often. Ark does have a fishing system, which is interesting. Not a lot of people do it in Ark, but because it's actually quite hard to get a fishing pole in Ark. The way you got good fishing poles is you needed to be advanced enough to be able to go into the deep ocean with advanced creatures that you could ride around on, and you needed to kill these giant boss creatures at the bottom of the ocean for a chance at a fishing pole, as opposed for a chance at a good fishing pole. Because you could make a basic fishing pole early, but you got like garbage when you're fishing up out of it. So it wasn't very valuable. And then the arrangement of how you needed to arrange yourself on the shore and what kind of baits you needed to use and that kind of thing was also a little bit complicated. But once you got it all worked out, it was really, really valuable in Arc. But I say it's weird because it's not just to get fish, because if you want to get fish, you just go and kill fish, or you take a mount that goes and gets fish. They had to turn it into a mini game that gave you that basically you were just fishing up treasure. So
Gotcha.
it's not as much fishing, which makes it a little bit different. But yeah, it's definitely it's like an end game thing because to get a good rod that would make it more than trash, you were basically at end game to get it, and then the rewards that you would get would be end game valued rewards. But even then, it never seemed worth it to bother to set it up to fish because there's other ways, end game ways to go off and like fight big monsters to get those rewards too. Any other fishing in any other games that you remember that you really liked?
I mean, I just want to mention Star Wars: The Old Republic
Oh yeah, I
because
had that on the list.
even their even though like you can't swim in their water or whatever, they did do a temporary, like, it had a beginning and an end event where you could do some fishing, and it was fishing approximation, so it was like a mini game, but it wasn't like fishing. It was more of a whack-a-mole type game
With a
uh,
droid,
with a droid. Yeah.
which I thought was a clever way to do it in a tech world and in a
Yes.
Star
Yes.
Wars world.
Yes. I was wondering how they were going to do it, especially with water that is, no more than like waist deep.
Yes. Yeah, no you can't there's like one spot in the game you can get your head underwater. All other water is knee deep.
Right. Or else it's a uh, insta death.
Yes. True. Right. Yeah. Or you can't go in it at all. At all. You'll instantly die. There's a death
Yeah.
volume.
Yep.
Is what they call it. Yeah. Uh I thought it was cute and fun. And I liked the
Yeah.
idea of a droid. And in fact,
And I was very happy with it being temporary because, yeah, you wouldn't want to do that 1,000 times.
maybe that's it. I was gonna say I wish they had kept it around. But again, I wouldn't because it was a mini game and it was not the easiest mini game. It was like it's like a 9x9 or a 4x4 grid where you're overlooking the water and your robot probe droid can like move anywhere in that like 4x4 area over this volume of water. So then these fishing pools, like the fish would start jumping, you'd have to move the droid bloop, 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 and get over to that one before it disappeared. And so it was not trivial, and you weren't just pulling up tons of fish. It was like it was like a minute per fish, wasn't it? Yeah. It was like
If they were
or
going to
30
make it
seconds per fish.
permanent, I would want the fish that you fished up to be valuable for something.
Right. So again, more of those dimensions.
Yeah.
Make it valuable, make rewards, the kind of rewards that we all want in Star Wars: The Old Republic right now are achievements and cosmetics.
Right.
Maybe there's like a special gear set you could eventually fish up. Mounts, like you get those fishing mounts that you fish up in WoW. That was
Mhm.
always fun to get the turtle mount.
Yep.
That was a big deal. So the fish themselves would have to matter. So that was one of the things on my meta list. So what is my meta list? The fish had to matter. Like you need to be valuable or whatever you're getting by doing the act of fishing. Maybe if you're like fishing up treasure in Ark, that you could count that as the fish matter. The mini game has to not be annoying. My idea there, my game design idea was, especially the games that have fishing as a profession and your skill gets higher and higher. Maybe the higher and higher your skill gets, the less you need to do the fishing mini game, to the point where when you master it, there's no
Mhm.
more fishing mini game.
Yes. Just like, yeah, as you grow expert, your muscle memory takes over. So that could be translated into simplification.
So then, maybe you do have to do it the mini game a couple hundred times, but then you're done. You've learned it. You've earned your way to not having to do it ever again.
Yeah.
So then it's
I like that.
because again, the first few times you do any of those kind of little mini games, they can be engaging and interesting, and then the first 100 times they're okay, and then it goes downhill. The other dimension I had was like gear, gear mattering, like with Star Wars. Maybe if you could customize that probe droid and put different attachments on it so it would get different kinds of fish, I think that would be an interesting dimension and a twist to it. Getting the fishing hat in WoW felt good and was like a fun thing to go after and get and have and use. So I liked that. And then what was the last one? Oh, for the games where fish really, really matters, fish traps, automated fishing. A lot of games will add that kind of in when you need like thousands of fish for whatever reason. And I think that's okay in a way to sort of go after that. Maybe you can't get the best fish by using like a fish trap and just coming back and like getting the fish. But if you need like thousands for whatever, like you're doing cooking or other kinds of crafting, I think that's an okay system and can feel good because then you can put some complexity and depth into the traps themselves too. All right, well that's plenty on fishing, and we designed a fishing kind of game there. Forster, so a couple other games have been mentioned in the chat room too. Red Dead Redemption 2, which I did not fish in, and but so Stask is saying with the dual sense. So if the mini game feels really good, and if there's like force feedback and you're doing things with the sticks, that could be interesting. And then Forster's, yeah.
I mean, I know it's a takeaway for every game, every mechanic of every game, but like for fishing in particular, I feel like it needs to feel good.
Mm-hmm. Right, and not be overly. The mini game cannot be annoying, and it has to. The more it kind of like feels like fishing, which I think you could do with a controller. And you could probably really do in VR. I'm sure there's VR fishing games that probably feel pretty good. That could be interesting. And then Forster mentions V Rising, and V Rising was good, and the fish mattered. You needed different kinds of fish for specific things, and then as you progressed in the game, that was something you could send out your servants. You could send them on little missions, and they could bring back fish for you. So that was a fun part of that too. All right, but that's fishing. We've hit on WoW a couple other times. There's one thing I wanted to ask you since you're still wowing quite a bit. You said you were getting deep. You were delving deep into delves.
Yes.
Delve deep and greedily. And you said they're getting hard but interesting. Tell me more about the delves.
So, this is the beginning of season 1 in the War Within WoW, and like lots of games, WoW does have its seasons, and so that means it's the start of the gearing up process. So with this week, the beginning of season 1, there's like 3 or 4 new ways to get gear, and delves is one of them. The higher and delves come in graduated degrees of difficulty, and you have to earn the ability to go to the higher tiers by doing the tiers before. And so where you want to be is tier 7 or tier 8 to get the highest currently available gear that you can get from delves. And so the very first delve you do in the game is very simple, but all of them, as you advance in difficulty, get harder and harder. They add mechanics, things hit harder, things live longer. And it's been really interesting for me because I actually had to go back. I started to get to a point where I was feeling really sorry for myself that I couldn't kill faster. And so I went back to the basics of my class and tried to relearn my class as it exists for the War Within. And it actually gave me a huge boost of being able to get through more delves. But so that was good for me in my balance spec as a druid.
Yeah.
Then also gaining XP for Bran, who's your little companion, is great because he has all these super interesting abilities. For
And
instance,
is it only Bran? Is it nobody else
it's
besides
only
Bran?
It's just Bran.
Oh, you can't like get other ones and level them up for
Well,
delves in
no,
War Within.
no. Right now,
It's always Bran,
it's
which is
always
fine
Bran.
because he's
Yeah,
fun. He's a good little character, and
he
maybe
he
that simplifies it. I don't have to worry about. Oh well, I really like this character now, and now I gotta start leveling that one up all over again.
like
Yep.
he, so he does this thing, for instance, where he throws out a giant egg, and when the egg breaks, a dinosaur pops out, and then the dinosaur helps you fight.
Well, he's like an archaeologist, I guess. I was like, why would he
Yeah,
throw an egg?
he's an explorer.
Yeah.
So it's like yeah. So another thing he does is he drops this like cube on you, and at first I was always trying to avoid it because I thought it was it was a mechanic from the mobs, but basically it's a thing that hardens you, and he does it when
Ah,
you get below like 40% health. So it hardens you and heals you a little bit.
a
So
defensive.
yeah, it's a defensive, right?
Huh.
Um, but the mechanics in each delve are kind of local to that delve, but then the delve itself could have 2 or 3 or maybe there's 4, I don't know. It's like different stories that could be live that day. So like
Oh,
sometimes is that you have to save people, sometimes that you have to, you know, kill people. Um, it's always going to be the same mechanic. Like if it's the kind of delve where you have to pick up a candle, and if you're not holding a candle, you're going to be hurt by the environment. That part will always be the same.
okay.
Um,
But still,
l-
little variation
yeah,
is
yeah.
not bad. I like the
Um,
ones that I did. Tell me more about the gear though. So you said
okay.
so it's
So
I
yeah,
mean, is it
so
like
basic.
raid level gear? I mean, what?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's like yeah, it is. So how that works is WoW has this thing called, well, you can actually get direct boxes. You can get direct drops from the end treasure boxes at the end.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
and the way that happens is every day there's 4 delves on the map that have been designated as bountiful delves. And in
Oh.
those, there's gear in the last box. But you have to have gotten a key to be able to unlock that box, and the way you get the keys are from doing things out in the world.
Oh.
So basically, if you are a non-group content player and you like to push yourself a little bit, you can this is a way that you can over time get geared up, get some gear.
Can you do delves as a group or are they only solo?
You can do them as a group. Um, I'm not exactly sure how, like, what I'll find out tonight because we're going to do them as a group. But there's some. I thought you could get gear that way, but we'll find out. Some
Okay.
people have said no, you only get the gear if you do solo. I don't know. Um,
And how many ranks of the delves are there? And they go up in
there's
tiers like
right
difficulties.
now the highest is 11, but I think tier 8 is the highest level of gear. So if you do 9, 10, 11, that's more of a even more
Achievement.
of a mini game for, yeah, for you.
Yeah.
Um,
And so and then the gear that you're getting at tier 8, how end game is it?
like normal raid level.
Like the best anyone can get?
No, like normal raid
Oh,
versus
normal raid
heroic.
versus heroic versus mythic.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah,
I think
gearing in WoW always confuses me because the
yeah.
tiers go up and the tiers keep increasing so much and so quickly that I'm never
Right,
like
and this is
caught up.
they've already increased, like heroic dungeons already award a higher eye level than they did before season
Oh,
1
really?
started. Yeah.
Yikes! That gear treadmill. Kind of
Um,
not. I don't like that. I mean,
also
I
in
like gear progression, but I don't like a gear treadmill that's set on 11.
right, right.
Like if you take off 2 weeks because No Man's Sky had an expedition, now your gear is down a tier. That doesn't feel good.
Well, right, right. I mean, we can have that discussion too. It would have to be more than 2 weeks, but um and you could argue that the person who's playing during those 2 weeks shouldn't have to just wait for you to come back before anyone got gear either. But I know what you're saying.
Right,
Um,
but that would be if I mean,
I know you just want gear to matter less. In WoW, gear matters a lot. It's a lot.
like how, like on what schedule would you say you have to do a complete refresh of your gear if you're playing consistently with a group and you want to sort of like be maintaining your position? So say you're a heroic raider and the gear tier keeps going up. Is it like once every 4 weeks the gear tier goes up? Or is it once every 6 weeks? Or is
It's I don't know the answer. I want to say it's by season, and I think there's like 4 seasons across 2 years.
oh, so 6 months?
I don't know.
Like you said, it
It's
already went up once, which sounded weird to me.
Yes. It went up from like 587 to, like 571 to 587 or something like that. Yeah, it did. Like before the
So
season
if
is
it's not going to do
one-
that again for 6 months, then great. That seems fine. If it's going to do it again, in 6 weeks, that's getting pretty pretty fast
I don't
in
know.
my book.
I don't know. Like I've never been a big gear chaser. I just play the game.
Right, right. Well, yeah, but you're not a gear chaser, but you're going to want to stay current because you're playing with a group, right? So
Right, but
you're not
I
ignoring
guess
gear.
what I'm saying is I don't know the answer to the question that you're asking,
Yeah,
because I don't yeah, like I wouldn't even know about the difference between last week and this week if it hadn't been a subject of conversation
yeah.
in the conversations that I've been in. So,
I think it's a fun thing to think
um,
about. I always think about
and
gear
there
because
are I feel like it's my responsibility to get the best gear I can, but I don't follow it so closely that I can tell you, yes, in 2 weeks it's going to go up 5, and in 2 more weeks it's going to go up another 5, or
yeah,
in 4 months it's going to go up 100. I don't
right,
know.
right.
Um, but because I do play with a group, yes, I do my best to get my gear where I can get it, and also playing with the group provides more gear as well.
Right. Right. Exactly. And then, yeah, in some ways you probably don't even need to worry about it if you're playing consistently with
Yeah,
a group,
yeah.
because it's just coming. It's
And so one of the things we're going to do tonight is get everybody to the point where they can go into a 7 or 8 tier delve. That's on our menu for tonight.
cool.
Like I can go into a 7 right now, but I cannot go into an
And when
8.
you say get people there, is that like gear people up? Is why you can't go
Nope.
into it?
Nope. It means you have to do the tier before you can do it. And so like if someone
Oh,
comes in and the highest they've done is 5, then we're going to have to do a 6 before we can all do 7.
got it. So just
Or do it together, anyway.
yeah, like getting some help to get through the different
Yes.
tiers so you can get up to 8.
Which I don't I don't see that as a big deal, because a delve, if you blow through it, is only a few minutes. Like
Yeah.
if you explore every nook and cranny, or if you're wiping a lot, then it takes longer.
Yeah, that seems like a nice thing to do as a group too. Get
Yeah.
everybody, get everybody up there, and they are sort of like short and compact, and like
Yeah.
a fun little activity.
Yeah, like you do it's typically like 3 or 4 rooms, and then there's a boss at the end.
Yeah. Well,
And at the
cool.
higher levels, there's like little treasure boxes to find, but that was gonna say at the higher levels too, you only can die so many times before that special treasure box is off the
The
table. So if
bountiful or
you
whatever. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so
Well,
yeah, I'm looking forward to that tonight. And so I've had fun. I started doing this on Monday. I said, okay, I'm going to do like all the delves I haven't done. So there's like, I think there's 12 of them right now, or maybe it's a slightly higher number. So I went through and did all of them once, which basically got Bran leveled up to the max at the time. And then season 1 started on Tuesday, and now he can be leveled beyond that cap, but he only gets XP now if you do a bountiful delve. So we're
oh,
probably going to do
okay.
4 bountifuls tonight, and I don't know how that's going to work, because only one person will have a Bran, or nobody. If we have 5 people, then you don't even get Bran.
Oh, interesting.
So then the XP of Bran doesn't figure into it. But every day there's new bountiful delves, so during the week
Yeah.
you can level up your Bran.
Right. Yeah. It's good to have a lot of Bran. Keeps the digestive
And
system
you can
going well.
fish in some of them. I mean, and every once in a while, Bran will run over and mine a node and like chunk some ore at you.
I did I did remember that when I was going through the fishing in various games. There have been a couple games where this is in ESO and in WoW in particular, where there's a big PvP zone. So in ESO, it's Cyrodiil, and in WoW, remember Alterac Valley, and fishing in Alterac Valley was a thing.
Yeah,
And like people would get yelled at for it, but at one point, wasn't there like an achievement or a certain kind of fish that,
probably.
which was like terrible, which is like terrible and dumb to like to do that. Cyrodiil is kind of
Yeah.
different because it's like a big open PvP zone, and you don't, you're not like being counted on as one of the 40 people that are making your side win or lose. But yeah, whenever you'd find somebody off in the corner, you knew that they were fishing in Alterac Valley, they'd get yelled at in general chat. It was kind of hilarious. All right. I have been doing a bunch of things, but maybe I'll wait till next week to dive into it because we've been going pretty long today.
I just been wanting to comment that your duck is basically a strawberry.
Today is strawberry duck. Yes. It's a little, you caught it. You saw it.
Yes.
And it's a strawberry. That's a thing. There's a story behind that, but not a very big story. That's my daughter got a bunch of these, and you're going to see more of them in the future if you watch close in the podcast. So there you go. The ducks are a thing. Maybe we'll have a contest if you name every duck by the time we're done. I don't know. No, we're not going to do that. Anyway, I've been playing Star Wars: The Old Republic because the season stuff. I've been playing No Man's Sky for the expedition. I've been playing Outlaws, but all of that got derailed over the weekend for my game time that I had to play Ark and the Aberration map in Ark, which looks really good because it's sort of underground and everything is emissive textures and glowing mushrooms. So it's a lot of like mushrooms, and the dinosaurs glow and a bunch of that kind of thing. And a few of the people in our community said this is their favorite map and they were raring to go. So we had a bunch of people start it. That's part of the reason. You were asking me why, what derailed you? What made you stop playing No Man's Sky? And
yes.
so maybe we'll talk about it more next week but I have to think about it.
Also, how do you feel about it? Like, did it interfere with you having fun with Ark? Were you thinking during that time, well, actually, I should go back to No Man's Sky and finish off the fishing expedition because I'll be really sad if I don't do that?
Yes. Yes to all of that, but I was still very compelled, and I'll do some work to put together all of the reasons, because I think that's sort of like an interesting analysis. What makes you kind of, Ark really does this to me for some reason. It really, a lot of survival games do, and Ark is one of my favorite survival games, so that's kind of why. But the survival games are a perfect storm of dopamine hits for me that will suck me in and make me and derail other things, including like I had studio work that I meant to be doing more of. I did some, but I meant to be doing more of over the weekend. And I got a little behind on it. And then other games I wanted to play, and trying to like get the lawn mode and that kind of stuff. And it's like, well, no, but I gotta go tame another dino in Ark. And so the free time ended up getting sucked into Ark and sucked away from No Man's Sky, SWTOR, and Outlaws, which were on the menu until this Ark stuff popped up. And I will go back to those. They're still on the menu. But Ark, we'll have to put together, we'll have to study that addiction and how we can bottle it and use it to great advantage in the future, I guess. But for now, that is it for today. All the feed and subscribe links are on newoverlords.com, and our videos on YouTube/newoverlords. Please come chat with us in our Discord if you want to chat about Ark. Nazrai is one of the AIE leads who also runs a bunch of these independent servers, and he's got a private server for us that we're all playing on for Ark Aberration. And the maps are still up for the island, Scorched Earth, and the center. And we've got bases on all of those now. And he's still running all of those servers, which is really, really cool. But yes, join us in ARC. You can find out more details there in the AIE Discord or in newoverlords.com/Discord. You can also follow us on all of the social networks, and we keep you up to date there too on what's going on with New Overlords, our podcast, and a little bit on the side of Contemplation Games. Announcement probably in about 4 weeks now. We'll keep counting it down
I'm
and
excited.
giving more hints, and you're seeing little peeks and hints at the art style and things like that, but we'll get a game announcement probably in about 4 weeks. And with that, we will talk to you soon.
Later, everyone.